What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Jacked Ramsays. Danny Marang, Brandon Sprague. I think we're still on the train of putting Trailblazers 82-0. We'll get into that here in a little bit.
Dare to dream.
Dare to dream, right, exactly. First of all, thank you. Welcome. It's the first actual live show of the regular season. For those who don't know, I'm Danny Marang over here. This side, Brandon Sprague. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Help us grow the show. Share us with your friends. Share us with your family. Share us with your enemies. We don't care as long as they click and listen and get through, I don't know, one commercial? One commercial is good, right, Brandon?
Yeah, one commercial is A-okay.
We'll take that. The download counts. If you're watching here on YouTube, click subscribe. It's free. It's easy. If you want to become a part of the community and join in on watch parties, click the join button. And for a whole $2.99, you can get into all of the watch parties all season long. That's at least 41 watch parties that we're doing for every single away game. That'll change as soon as I find out what's going on with my surgery. So we'll go with that. But we have billion things to talk about. The game last night, Brandon and I's interview with Joe Cronin on Monday, and looking ahead to tomorrow's home opener against the Phoenix Suns, who completed a 22-point comeback. 22-point comeback, I think, against the Luka and the Dallas Mavericks. Which I don't think anybody saw that coming.
No, I thought Luka and the Mavs were going to bury him. I thought we were going to be talking about a 50-point loss again in back-to-back games.
You just hate to see that.
Well, I think it's interesting because, Lee hits the go-ahead shot, the game winner, basically, and they succeeded by benching Chris Paul. And it's, I think that whole situation's fascinating. I don't think there's any drama with Chris.
It's fluid.
I don't think that win now makes the Suns like some team you still don't keep an eye on and go, well, they could be sellers to a certain extent at the trade deadline.
Certainly cooked.
Yes.
So, also cooked, the Sacramento Kings. No, I kid. A fantastic game last night, opening night. The Portland Trailblazers are figuring things out, as it were. I should probably preface the discussion of last night's game with this. Everything that happened last night doesn't change a single thing about my expectations for the year.
Oh, I mean, if we're gonna start being either real or optimistic, whatever you want to call it, I didn't walk away as excited as I was to see Shaedon do what he did. We'll talk about that. See the Blazers style of play, the way they looked when they went small ball. We'll get into all that. But yeah, I'm not allowing one game against the Sacramento Kings, who were probably without their second best player last night, by the way. Hasn't played a single game. He might be their second best player. And so I'm not going to allow that game to largely stop thinking that this team is what I still think that they are.
Exactly. But I will say this. There's a lot of fun things to go with. And first and foremost, Brandon, it turns out Jerami Grant, everything and then some for the Portland Trailblazers. You and I obviously did the watch party last night. Whether it was the intensity with which he looked to put back dunks, whether he was playing the 4-5 or switching on the De'Aaron Fox or knocking down corner threes, even in his please don't take that mid-range shot. I know you want to take that mid-range shot. You're going to take, God damn it, you took that mid-range shot, Jerami Grant. You still loved everything you got out of him last night.
Oh, I mean, look, shot selection wasn't 100% perfect, but I kind of expect this from him. He's here for a reason, right? He's one of the guys that said, okay, you know what? I'll go to Portland. Now, he's not like a top-end all-star or anything, but like he's a pretty good caliber player to do that. That doesn't happen very often. And so the relationship factor brings him here. I just think that's part of the deal. Like he's going to have 2 or 3 possessions where Jeremy's going to do what Jeremy wants to do. And if it works,
that's a tax.
Great. Yeah, that's the tax right there. That's the Jerami Grant tax. I can live with it. The important stat for me, and I think we can talk about tempo separately here. I'm just talking about Jeremy specifically. I thought the most important thing for me was the fact that he went 3 for 3 from three-point land. If this dude is going to have a decent percentage here and really be a legitimate threat, I think it's just going to open up the offense even more. I really do. I think it can create passing lanes to a certain extent. I think you can draw guys out. You can create, open looks when Dame draws 2 or Ant draws 2. And if Jerami Grant, he goes 3 for 3 last night, if he can be effective from 3, I just think it opens things up for them offensively. I thought that was a huge part of his game. Aside from everything else he did, that was something that I really took note of.
Yeah, one of the things that really stood out to me was even though the Blazers, everybody's sitting here, wow, they played fast, they played fast. They're like smack dab in the middle for like what you would expect pace to end up being.
Yeah, but it's fast for them.
And that's the thing is, I think that there was I'm really interested once we get like 10, 12, 15 games down,
right,
to see the pace of units. Like what pace is this unit playing at? What pace is this unit playing at? Because you're going to see some differences in how they play. And that's the one thing I really, really like about Jerami Grant. He can play any pace.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as you like the 3 for 3 from 3, there's actually something there that I don't like. Only 3 attempts.
Sure.
I'd like to bump him up to 6 or 7.
Okay.
Like that would probably be my preferred line. What's really interesting, I'm going to deviate back off of Jerami and then back to him here in a second. Top level takeaway. The Trailblazers last night, there was a very, very, very different tone and a very different level of game plan going into that game. Or if there wasn't, the game plans when they were trying to do it, they were very ineffective at during the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody who could dribble, pass, and shoot was getting their feet in the paint on offensive possessions. They were not settling for early clock threes. Because they can get those whenever. Damian Lillard and Anfernee Simons can get a 3-point shot whenever they want it. Those guys are on the list of like 10 guys in the NBA who doesn't matter. They can go get their 3 whenever they want it. Go ahead, not a problem. That is different than having to do it or wanting to do it or having the desire. There was a switch, a rewiring, as it were, to steal a phrase from Joe Cronin, of what they were looking to do as opposed to previous eras. Damian Lillard got 2 feet in the paint. Jerami Grant was getting downhill. Anfernee Simons was getting downhill more than he ever has.
Mm-hmm.
And that set the tone for them getting to the free throw line. It bailed them out when their shooting kind of faded or failed them at certain times. They ended up getting 33 free throws, which, my God. But the ball, while not popping around everywhere, they weren't stuck in half-court situations all the time where the ball just pick, repick, kind of figure some stuff out. There was a get downhill, put pressure on the defense, collapse it, kick it, then get into it. And one of the things that Chauncey has highlighted a ton throughout camp and then in the preseason, and we kind of saw it last night, was this idea of attacking a defense so that they have to attack closeouts.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about their own defense. The last thing we want to do is attack closeouts. We don't want to have to do that because that means you've been put in rotations, and when you've been put in rotations, eventually you break. Even the best teams break. It's just how many moves you have to go before you make. And I say all of this to get back to Jerami Grant is a guy that can put you into rotations in various manners. He can be the spot-up shooter. He can be the driver slasher. He can be the backside dunker spot runner. He can fill so many different avenues, and you saw all of it on display last night.
You know, I think a part of that, too, is, when we talk about the tempo, the pace, the style of play, I don't fault fans at all, despite what you note there of like they're kind of smack dab in the middle in terms of pace and speed. I don't blame fans for feeling how they feel. I mean, this has been an offense for many years, and I don't necessarily always fault the coach for this. I think some of this is personnel, but like you were just limited, and you were kind of in this position where you needed Dame and you needed CJ, and sometimes it'd be a little too much dribbling. But it's like, do you want them to dribble or Al-Farouq Aminu? You know what I mean?
And that was always a trade-off. Like,
right. And so I think that's what you see with not only personnel changes, but maybe even coach to a certain extent, right? Having this belief in everybody that like, if I put you out there, I'm trusting you. And, you have a guy like Dame coming back, right? You got Ant got the bag this summer. I thought it was pretty noticeable on kind of their philosophy. And Danny, I should have counted this because I was thinking about it in the moment, but I didn't. How many times did it feel like Josh Hart was dribbling 1-on-2 and being aggressive and going to the cup?
Oh, every single time he had the opportunity.
Okay, and how many times was that? I didn't track it, but like it felt like at least 8. I mean, it probably wasn't, but
he
it
actually
felt like
pulled
it
up
was
a couple
8.
times because he's like, I probably shouldn't go 1-on-2 again. I probably
But
shouldn't go 1-on-3. But he's always trying to put this franchise has missed rim pressure. I have talked about rim pressure for 6 bleeping years.
Right.
Because they have not. Damian Lillard was the. CJ McCollum refused to go to the rim.
He's a mid-range guy, mid-range dude.
And I've been told for years that he didn't want to go to the rim because of his feet, because that's how he got hurt and that's how he lost time. And I get that. I actually understand that. It makes sense. The guy is an Iron Man unless you collapse his lung or you get his feet.
Right.
He doesn't miss games otherwise. So you just kind of go, well, I guess you got to kind of get it another way. The problem was they can never get another way. Al-Farouq Aminu couldn't dribble. Mo Harkless didn't want to. Your bigs at the time, whether it was Myers or Mason or early Nurk, you're like, should they? Probably not.
No, those aren't dudes that do that.
And they never had any. Evan Turner was the only guy off the bench who could dribble and pass. And guys would just cut him off because, like, we know you're not doing anything other than shooting once he gets in the paint. Like, we don't care about you because you're a non-shooter.
When I think with that, like, he probably didn't do it as much as I would have liked, but there's a bit of familiarity when I think we try to find it on this in this franchise. I mean, Josh reminds me of a lot of Wes. He's got a dog in him. He's got a belief in himself. He's not perfect, but I like the aggressive kind of nature of his game. Now, he plays differently than Wes, but you know what I'm saying, Les? Like, he's filling a role.
100%.
Yes, he gives them something they largely have not had for quite some time. And so I just think when you bring up the style of play, you're just taking note of these guys who aren't Dame, who aren't Ant, that are like out there with this, like, I think team, coach, and internal belief of one another of like, yo, you got a moment, take it, right? Like, don't feel like I'm Damian Lillard. I need the ball every time. And I thought that was important, especially a night where he struggled, that those guys played the way that they did. I think it sets more of a belief for Dame and then Dame and those guys.
Nate Jones, who works with the Goodwin brothers who represent Damian Lillard, very close confidant of Dame. He tweeted out last night, and I got the same note from a bunch of other folks around the NBA last night. They don't win that game with the Dame CJ led teams because they don't have enough dog or rim pressure or guys willing to get nasty like they did last night. And it's right. It's absolutely true. And that's what Chauncey and Joe have kind of hinted at so much. And I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, they got it right. They beat the Kings after giving away an 18-point lead. Like, there's still a lot. There's a lot of things.
The Kings without Keegan Murray too.
Yeah,
we can't overlook that part.
No, there's a lot of things that are wrong. As much as I want to be like, oh, this was cool, this was cool, this is cool. There was a lot that was not.
But I'm not going to allow you to do that yet because it was a weird off season. I think fans are in weird places right now.
And this is not the Suns game to me of last year.
And it's a different situation. Mainly the difference here. But I do think there were things, even though it's the Kings, and we know that. They're not going to win all those games.
There was something to hang your hat on last night. There was,
pardon my French, but like there was a fuck you attitude with that squad, and I want some fuck you attitude here. Yeah,
here.
And haven't had that in a while.
To be blunt, I saw Anfernee Simons and Josh Hart both look at guys last night and say "fuck you."
Yeah, I mean, Maybe that's exactly what they said, but they were saying something. They didn't seem like they were very friendly.
Yeah, no, and Ant flexed on a guy after he dunked on him. What, like, never in a million years would I have seen that.
Yeah.
Never. And they talk about so much the attitude, the mentality. You're not going to flip that switch overnight. You're not going to bring that level of intensity. You're not going to find that. And for some guys, you're never going to bring it out of them. But the thing I love about Josh Hart, much like Wes Matthews, is, and this is a bit of a downer in a sense, the reason Josh Hart stands out so much is not because he stands out in Portland. It's because he stands out in the NBA because he plays basketball with passion. He wears it on his sleeve. There are very few players in the league who do that still.
Oh, I mean, if you had Josh Hart available for free agency, for example,
every single team wants a Josh Hart.
Every single team is making that phone call.
100%.
And maybe not the Spurs.
Even they want a guy like that.
No, after the draft, I think they might want Josh Hart.
They
don't want anybody. But my point is, every league would want this guy. This isn't your, this isn't. I don't know. Fill in a guy that we had on the squad last year that we were like trying to talk ourselves into, but like if we're being honest, we're like, he's barely a league guy. This team is tanking right now. And so I think that's the difference is Josh is legitimately a dude that a lot of really good teams.
If you're a competitive team, you want Josh Hart on your team.
Yeah, bring him into our rotation.
Yeah, absolutely 100%. You know what? Let's just dive into Josh right here. Because the pecking order for me last night was the new guys. It was Josh. It was Jerami. It was Shaedon. Justise to an extent. And then you could put Ant in there. And it's kind of funny. I've seen a few people kind of like pan Ant's performance. Mm-hmm. And I'll get to the joke now. When we did Outsiders, Joe, Shane, and I, we used – because CJ would drive us insane.
Wait, you said people are panning Ant's performance? Ant's performance,
like, oh, it wasn't that good. It was like, I'm like,
really?
I'm like,
wait, where are you seeing these people?
We had comments on the text line today on the show, and I've gotten tweets, and I've seen comments on message boards. Yeah.
Yeah, I need an actual – I need to know why. You don't just say he didn't play that great. Please tell me. What did you see that I didn't see?
Was he phenomenal? No. Was he good? Yeah. Were the things that I have questions about? Certainly.
Dude, he picked them up in some spots.
Twice,
even though
in both halves.
And him and Dame weren't shooting the rock particularly strong. So, I don't know. That's a wild opinion for me.
I want to say this and kind of get back to Hart. I thought, well, number one, the anecdote – we used to joke that no matter what happened in any given game, whether it was a blowout, a close game, the Blazers win, Blazers lose, somehow, some way, no matter how bad CJ was in a game, at the end of the night, you'd look up, he'd be 9 of 22 for 22 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. And Ant was 1 assist off that exact line last night. And it's part of it made me laugh, like, oh, here we go. Part of it was stepping into CJ's shoes right away on night one. Not bad. Like, that was kind of like my thought process of, like, even after all the headaches and everything else has kind of been back and forth, that's where they ended up, was like a very normal CJ McCollum night. Okay. Works for me. But back to Josh Hart. His proclivity go 1-on-2, 1-on-3, to grab and go, to just always be turned on, is something that this team needs. Mm-hmm. Because as much as Grant and Winslow and Josh, Eubanks, there's some dogs. Mm-hmm. Ant's not a real emotional guy. He showed more last night than I'd seen in a long time. Dame is not a real emotional guy. Shaedon, he's a rookie, and that kid is, he is Brandon Roy-esque. He is just level.
You're talking about just actually like in terms of showing it?
Yes.
Because I think Dame just has it at all times.
Yes.
And we see it pop out sometimes.
Very rarely. Josh is the most memeable player in the entire NBA.
Yes. And he's got a reaction to everything.
I think that matters.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, where you need a kind of an emotional little warrior,
You know where this is going to actually pay dividends? This is a sneaky thing about Josh Hart. I think what's going to make this season even more fun, despite their losses that are surely coming and so maybe even a few beatdowns. But what makes this fun is Josh Hart, whether inadvertently or advertently, Josh Hart is going to become I hate that guy on the Blazers when they're on the road. Fans are going to be booing Josh Hart.
100%.
Josh Hart is not, because he
sold that foul last night when he got pushed with 2 hands. He came in the next time, lowered his shoulder, and then flails and flops, gets to the free throw line.
He complains to the refs, like he kind of does everything to have a villain, and I don't know. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I feel like he's going to be our villain to a certain extent. I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah, and to get ahead of myself, it makes it very difficult when you talk about trading him.
I don't want to talk about that right now. Can we not talk about that?
I'm saying we'll put that on the kibosh for a little bit and kind of get going. In the comments now, you love the hateable guys. Yes, all of them except for Russell Westbrook and Pat Beverly.
Yeah, see, buddy, I like Russ. Pat Bev.
But both those guys were fantastic. And then back to Anfernee. I thought he answered the bell incredibly well to start the night. Whether it was grabbing and going and trying to throw down that tomahawk dunk that he just inadvertently threw off the back rim, which would have brought the house down to start the game. I think it was the next possession. I think he got another steal, and then went for another dunk, and actually did finish that one with a little bit of a body. I texted him last night, hey, when did you learn how to do this? And I'd be like, I think you dunked like 12 times in your career before this, and you're trying to dunk every game. It's one of those things where there's something is certainly clicked, because in the preseason he was much more passive. He said as much. He was still trying to find his, and it's not perfect, but offensively, I am not worried about the guy at all. Like, he shot 3 of 10 from 3. There wasn't a look where I was like, that was a bad look. Like, I trust Anfernee Simons to continue to get and take and make great 3-point looks. When this season's all said and done, if he's healthy the entire season, it would not surprise me to see him top 3 in 3-point attempts and makes. Like, that's the kind of season I expect him to have from the 3-point line. That's how good I think he is there. The growth on the other stuff, he had a couple of drives that resulted in swing passes to the corner. And it's going to be interesting to see what opponents do, because they're going to sit on that right-hand cross-court pass. He threw it to Sharpe a couple times. But he was getting his feet in the paint and creating looks, collapsing the defense, doing exactly what Chauncey wanted, and they were not relying. They took 28 threes last night, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is a good number, but that's not a crazy number. That's a very normal, if anything, subpar. I think they averaged 33, 34 for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So they were a little bit under. And they were able to – he was able to pick and find his spots in places with both Dame on and off the floor. I will agree he looked better when it was just him running things at times.
Sure.
But I think that they're starting to grow into that. As far as Ant goes, was there anything from him that you saw last night, good, bad, otherwise, you were like, okay?
Well, I mean, I think, they had that timeout in the second half that I think was interesting. Like, Chauncey was saying something, and
they were getting deep into the shot clock, and Ant had not gotten into the set yet.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a miscommunication. Maybe Ant didn't notice something. Chauncey was screaming to do something. Whatever. It didn't seem like that big of a deal, but I think people noticed it. I think that's good. I think it's good for that stuff to kind of come to the forefront early, because now they can talk about it. They can go over it. Dame kind of went up to him as soon as they were going to the huddle. Was like, yo, you good? But like, kind of give him some advice. It's not going to be perfect. I don't expect it to be perfect between him and Dame. And you say, I don't think you mean it this way, but for the people that maybe think this and do feel this way, you say that him looking good without Dame as if it's a bad thing.
No.
Like, if they're going to stagger, I know you don't feel that, but if people are drawing attention, he looks better without Dame. Good, because when Dame sits, we need an Anfernee Simons.
Yes, that's exactly the point.
Like that's a good thing, and honestly, that's expected. That should be expected. He played without Dame all year last year. He took on a different role. He earned a massive contract, and he didn't play with Dame. So yes, there's naturally going to be a fill-out period here. And I just don't view that as a negative. I think it's a positive for them that they can have Dame sit, and there might be a dude that can carry it enough for Dame to get the proper rest. I don't want that dude exhausted by, postseason time if they're in that position. So
sounds like too far ahead of ourselves.
Well, but like you and I think that they're going to get to the play-in, right? So they'll at least be playing for some postseason aspirations, right? So, but regardless, like that's not a bad thing. I didn't notice anything outside of the. You mentioned the feet in the paint thing. I thought that was a good point by you. Just the kind of aggression. Like he had one possession where I think he jumped off the wrong foot and he got blocked from behind. Other than that, like he went up strong, and I thought he showed where his body has kind of taken on the changes, and so I liked seeing that.
Yeah, I look at all of the things Ant did offensively last night, and I just start check, and check. Okay, yep, nope. Those are all the things that I expected to see. And then he did a few more by being more aggressive, getting feet in the paint, finishing with that little sky hook. And I saw a bunch of people lose their minds off that. I have seen him practice that shot 1,000 times, seemingly, over the years in pregame warmups.
With his body, like
fully contorted, twisted.
Facing the wrong way.
No, that's what he does. It is.
That was crazy.
He has got a floater package that you would not believe, and he doesn't go to it all that often. I've always wondered, like, man, he works on these insane shots pregame, and it's impressive when he pulls it out in the game. The other side of the ball, defensively, I thought Ant was okay. The big thing for me was if he's going to give some stuff up, both him and Dame, get some back. Generate some steals, get some deflections, be disruptive. In particular, Ant had the two steals. He had a possession where they tried to post him up, and he poked out the entry pass, another deflection that I think ended up getting into a reset, put them late into the shot clock. I liked what I saw from him in that regard. And then Dame, there were possessions where I saw Dame get beat, but I also saw possessions where Dame gave multiple efforts defensively, particularly on De'Aaron Fox. Close, recover, rotate, get back, help into the paint. And there was a moment where you saw a switch go, oh, crap. And he got back to where he needed to be. Like, you could see him actively thinking about it. And was it perfect? No. But did I see growth? Yes. And I think those are the things, like, when did I see anything that was going to change my mind about the season? No. Like, it's still a near 500 team. But did I see things that, you can hang your hat on as, hey, remember that really shitty preseason that caused everybody to panic and kind of go, I don't know? Mm-hmm. I saw some stuff from those guys defensively that I was like, okay, that's not bad. It's not great, but it's better than it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think the defense thing is still premature for me to really have any kind of an opinion on. Yeah, I saw some moments, but like, again, it's the Kings, and so it's like, yeah, we'll see what it is when they start taking on some of the, because they're going to get some really good teams.
Yeah, we'll see tomorrow. Friday. Yeah, we'll see tomorrow at Moto against Phoenix. I'm doing my second, as soon as we get done here, I'm doing my second watch through the game last night.
I don't know. I don't know if Dame is going to improve as a defender this year. I just don't, right? Like, I can't conclude anything. I wouldn't expect it
to be honest.
But where I think he could be sneaky helpful for them in areas where maybe it's the weaker part of his game, but like in areas where maybe it's him giving up buckets where he can kind of make up for that. I saw him try to play passing lanes last night in a way that I hadn't seen in a long time. And so, like, I think that's something that's interesting to keep an eye on. Is he might get beat a lot. He's a little smaller, so some bigger dudes will take him down low, whatever. But if he can make up for it by getting more steals this season, that's one way that, like, even though your defense is going to give up a decent amount of points, you're going to be in track meets. You're going to be in how many points can you score tonight? 118, 117. They're going to have those nights. And so I think him playing the passing lanes, you're just generating more possessions for him. It's one way to kind of make up for that end of the ball that I don't know if he's going to be better. He had one play where
this is what happens a lot is that when they try to hide Damian Lillard, he gets put in the opposite corner defensively. That's right. That's how you hide guys. That's not just Dame. That's what you do with Trey, Chris Paul. Like,
they did it for Steph for a long time.
They still do it for Steph because he's still even though Steph is a better defender than he was, he's still a weak defender compared to Andrew Wiggins, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Yeah. So what do? You hide him in the opposite corner. But what ends up happening is when they run a spread pick and roll on the opposite side of the floor, and you're aggressive, now guess who has to help? Your weak side help defender is now Damian Lillard at 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah.
And that's a problem because he doesn't have the size to get over and contest. And as strong as he is, he's not this bursty guy over the top. But what you saw last night, unfortunately, the ball ended up bouncing around and coming back to the Kings. But he did make a play where they tried to high pass Sabonis open. Fox tried they ran the pick and roll. Sabas gets a step on, I believe it was Nurkic. I think it was right after this that Nurkic got pulled again. But they threw the pass over Sabas' left shoulder into his right hand to lead him into the paint and lead him open. But Dame jumped over the top and he literally fist punched it over Sabonis' shoulder. And it got a little deflection. It bounced pinball around and ended up back in Sabonis' hand. He goes up with his left and puts it up. Unfortunately, it ended up back in his hand, but it was a disruptive play where you found Dame being more than a bystander on the weak side because Dame can't do anything. Getting when 6'10", 6'11", 270-pound Domas Sabonis has him sealed on that roll like this. But what Dame can do is get right here when that high pass went there, and he found a way to be disruptive. Now it didn't end up in anything in the box score other than a deflection. And the Kings scored immediately. But I guarantee you when they turn on the tape, Chauncey's sitting there going, good. This is the process. The results, good results will come with good process.
Right.
Sometimes stuff won't go your way. That's okay. And Chauncey has said this. We've done actually kind of a poor job in highlighting this. Chauncey has said there are ways that he is okay losing games. And it's a very, very interesting line of thought in that.
Well, the whole organization has been saying that.
But not just this year, but just in general. There are ways that they are okay in losing games. If they play their brand of basketball, if they give their effort with their process and their mindset and their mentality, and shooting luck just isn't on their side or a team gets hot, you tip your cap and you move on to the next one. I think that's a very, very, very healthy way to run the organization because it prioritizes process.
But wouldn't you say most of the good teams view it that way anyway? Because nobody's going undefeated in this. This isn't college football here. You lose a game, but it's going to happen.
They're using this as the measuring stick is the process. They're putting that front and center, not Al-Farouq Aminu at the 4 is worth 54 wins. Not this theoretical bullshit.
Right.
It's the process is what matters.
Mm-hmm.
And my God, how much have we been preaching that since this show started?
Yeah.
Process. And the fact that they're doing that is encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not it ends up working out in their favor immediately, and you want to see it work out to an extent, but I love seeing that more than anything. This has mostly been awesome, great, good. Hey, Blazers, awesome. Before we get to Shaedon Sharpe, we got to talk about the shit. Nurk was bad. Nurk was very bad in a way that it's a bummer. But again, let me go ahead and golf clap. Shouts to Chauncey Billups for taking on what was his biggest task of the night, sitting Nurk once and then sitting him again in closing time. I don't know if Nurk is going to get going. I don't know if he's going to figure it out. But that may have been worse than his other preseason performances. Because typically, number one, Sacramento is an opponent that Nurk loves to play against. His best games of his career have come against
his 5x5 game.
Yes, his 2020 5x5 game.
Yeah.
That is a team that he shows up for. But he also shows up for when there's guys that want to bang with him. Baby Sabas is going to bang with you. And there was like a 3-minute back and forth through a couple possessions where they were just sumo wrestling in the paint. Normally that's the trigger for Nurk to get going. But not only is he out of shape and not capable of performing for over X amount of time, he seems disinterested. I mean, there were bad reads, lazy attempted finishes. I'm not even going to call them finishes or shots because there was one where he beat Sabonis on a drop step and Herder's there for him, and he let Herder knock him to the floor.
Yeah.
Kevin Herder. Ronald Threesley. Like, if you're going to be 7 foot 300 pounds and you can't handle that.
Well, I don't know if it's about handling though, Danny. He's always kind of been a notorious flopper. He's always trying to sell something.
Yeah,
he's trying to get to the call.
It wasn't that though.
That play I thought he was trying to flop. I thought he was trying to sell something because he wasn't going to make a shot. I don't like it either. Like I'm not disagreeing with most of what you're saying.
I need to go back and watch on my next watch through. One of the things
when you watch it again, let me know what you think about that play because I viewed it as more of him like.
My notes I have like a 4, but I wrote my little notches for times that he fell over last night. I wrote 4.
He's
and
more
then I kind of
finesse than
5.
he is physical. I mean, that's always kind of been. He was really pretty physical, I thought, when he got here in that trade, and I thought it was part of the reason that it's such an impact.
He was.
Yeah, but you know what? He used it, and I'm not
that's
telling you he needs to be fat, but I'm saying is like. There's a physical nature to his game that largely for most of his stint here has not existed. No. And so like, I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on the rewatch there, but I just think he's finesse and I think he's trying to sell something and like, oh, finger roll and one. No call. Like I think that's what he does more so than like we're sitting there going, dude, you're 7 feet, 290, pound the rock and yam on somebody. Try to yam on somebody. You get blocked. I don't care. Just try. And he doesn't.
If he picks up an offensive foul because he's trying to overpower somebody,
I'll be mad. I won't be mad at that.
I won't bat an eye. Won't bat an eye. Set a tone, dude. Like,
I don't know if he's going to get it going. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. I'm expecting at some point he's going to have a game, and we're going to, he's going to have a 2-week stretch. He's too talented not to.
That's the thing. It's not for lack of talent. Nurk is not a
well, his has always been mental.
Yes.
His thing has always been a little on the mental side, and what I would say to that is he kind of reminds me of a little Russell Wilson. He just kind of looks fundamentally broken in whatever way. Maybe it's just having a few bad games in a row, or feeling a little left out of what this kind of is. Like if you compared him to the rest of this roster, he doesn't match what they are.
Has to know he doesn't fit.
And long. Yeah.
But the flip side is, remember, he talked about the whole, no capping, keeping it real. What you're noticing is both Joe and Chauncey not saying his name publicly. If you listen to the show today, noon to 3, we had the clip from Chauncey last night. Jason Quick of The Athletic asked Chauncey post-game about the small ball lineup. And what Chauncey said was, paraphrasing, they were attacking our bigs on both sides, and we weren't getting anything out of our bigs on either side.
Mm-hmm.
Drew made some fantastic plays at the rim for us, but we went small. They were able to get stuff done, and what Chauncey didn't mention once was Jusut Nurkic.
Well, what would he mention? I mean, he literally didn't do anything.
But that's the point, is that they're like,
they don't care. They're not going to go out of their way.
No, and they are very much like, get on the plan or you won't be a part of it.
Which is funny because they just gave him a 4-year bag.
I think they're hoping that he figures it out in a sense.
And maybe he will. But last night I had a lot of I've had a good opinion on a few things in my life, and that was definitely one. Like, I just was even more entrenched in the opinion I had in the summer of that situation. Now, I'll say this, though, like the consistent bad play, man, all it kind of did for me, too, I just felt for my guy. If my guy was 2 inches taller, if he goes and gets that leg extension surgery, he's a good center for them. Like,
he's just not big enough. And you saw it when.
Yeah, I mean, he's not Embiid. He's not Jokic. Like, he's not that dude. I'm okay with that. This team is up and down athletic. It's just unfortunate that he's not 6'10 and a half, 6'11, and he's stuck at 6'8 and a half. Yeah. And it sucks because I think he tries his ass off, and I think he's got good athleticism.
Eubanks is a great break glass in case of emergency center. He's an NBA dude. There's no doubt about that. There's no he's an NBA dude. Is he a starter? No. Is he a dyed in the wool backup? No. Is he the next tier down, like not a project, but like if you're in a pinch and you need 12 minutes from a guy, which is something you need throughout an 82-game season, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, he's that guy. Like what he did last season as the starting center is that's the reason they paid him. They're like, man, we appreciate you doing what you did. For real, we appreciate you because we know you were getting your ass kicked and you were still working.
Yeah.
You were still working. And I don't want to spend all this time bagging on Nurk. A bunch of people got mad at me when I did this in the preseason, but here you go. Am I going to victory lap this? Yes. Yes, I am. Why? Because exactly what I said is going to happen happened. And it's a bummer, and I don't like it, and I hope he figures it out because whether you want to trade him or you want to keep him and you want him to get better. No matter which way you are with it as it pertains to Jusut Nurkic, him playing like crap is bad.
I think we know what's either on.
There are still some big-time Nurk defenders. Trust me, I get it. I get the emails. Yes,
I'm not talking about the Nurk defenders.
I'm just saying, I get the emails, Bosnia. Thank you. I get it. But let's talk about the positive side of this. The guy who came in for him, Justise Winslow. Hell of a game. Hell of a game. And this is why you saw Justise get the opportunity to start in the preseason, why Chauncey has talked about him. The idea of what Justise Winslow is, a plug-and-play dude. Just a basketball player. A guy strong enough to hold off Domas Sabonis in the block, which, again, Baby Sabas is a truck. I know I've told the story about running into him in the hallway at in between the media center and the tunnel, and I bounced off him. He is a big dude. He is solid. Sabas tried to back him down. Actually, in fact, we got the opportunity last night to see how strong Jerami Grant is versus how strong Justise Winslow is. Remember what happened when Sabas backed Jerami Grant down?
Mm-hmm.
He lifted him off his feet and drove him back 2 feet.
Yeah.
Sabas tried to do it to Justise, and he bounced off. And that's not like a punking Grant thing. Justise just plays way bigger than he is.
He's really strong. He's more girthy, man. Like he's more filled out. Like he's got a fat ass.
He does, and he's huge up top.
He's barrel chested. He's thick. Like he's just bigger than Jerami in that way, man. Like he's more built like that. I actually thought Baby Sabas was pretty awful last night. If I was a Kings fan, I was pretty disappointed.
He was disappointed. I don't think he was aggressive as he needed to be, and I think he was deferring to Fox because Fox, 33-7-7. Like,
well, and they're also trying to play him at center, and that's not to me what he is. I don't know.
It's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out.
Because he's not that big either. Like he's big, but he's like, you know what I mean? Like height wise,
he's a step down from he's like 6'10", 6'10.5". Like he's like when I see him next to other guys, I'm like, that's a big dude. Like in the NBA.
No, he's
but
big,
he's not huge. And I think to be a center in the NBA who runs the offense, you kind of have to be Jokic or Embiid.
For sure, and that's not easy.
You have to be so not just skill wise, but size wise. You have to be a no doubt 7-footer because you have to be able to see over things. You have to have the strength and the just the mass to absorb a lot of stuff when everything's running through you all the time. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting, but Winslow it's going to be very interesting to see how Chauncey manages that small ball situation because tomorrow night against the Suns, they can't go to that against DeAndre Ayton. That's not an option. Like that's not DeAndre Ayton's a specimen. That's a 265-pound David Robinson clone. He's every bit of 7 foot. He's athletic as hell. Oh, and by the way, he shoots like 74% from the mid-range. Mm-hmm. He might be the second best mid-range shooter in the NBA next to Kevin Durant. So
yeah, I mean, they're just. I won't be shocked though.
Oh, they're gonna try it.
They're gonna. I think they kind of have to. Yeah. Like, here's the other part of this. Like, we were saying this at the beginning of the small ball stuff, and then like possession after possession went by, and Sabas is not Ayton, but like it started kind of working for them. Now again, I think Ayton can beat them up, but Phoenix is in a weird spot. They were getting their ass kicked last night. I think they kind of have to. And I'm not saying the Justise small ball 5 is this 5 that needs to stay here all season, but I'll give credit to Joe a lot because he came on the radio show right after he got the job, and we talked about the backups, and I was like, I don't like it. He's like, yeah, I mean, it's tough, and we're gonna ask guys to step up. And Justise was actually the first name he mentioned.
He said Justise and Jerami.
He said Justise and Jerami, and I took note of that, and I think I've mentioned it on this pod a couple times. Like, we didn't talk a lot about Justise. Justise wasn't getting the conversation the way Shaedon was, or Ant and what he was going to be, and Josh and Jerami and Dame coming back healthy, Nurk and the contract. The backup big. We just weren't talking about Justise that way. And I thought last night was really cool to see him kind of have that game where, you know, he kind of reminds me a little bit. I know the team doesn't compare, but he kind of reminds me of Wiggins. It's like maybe he's good enough that he finds a place that just uses what his skill set is. You know what I mean?
You're going to hate where I go with this.
Oh, go ahead.
No, keep going. I
don't want people to misconstrue that he's going to be what Andrew Wiggins is, or they're the Warriors.
But
what I mean
like
is just
finding a home.
Yeah, finding a home and feeling good about what your role is on that team.
No, 100% in line. And it's going to be very interesting. I want to talk about lineups real quick along those same lines.
Which one? They used 13.
Yeah, I know. Ant, Hart, Nas, Winslow, and Eubanks. The only thing they didn't do is I would have swapped out Eubanks for Grant. They almost threw, because it looked like Grant was coming on the floor, but I didn't realize at the time Ant was going off, Dame was coming back on, and somebody else was swapping too. And I was like, because I thought for a split second we were going to get that lineup, which was here's our most athletic lineup we can possibly put on the floor. And I was like, I'm sorry, no, it was Ant, Shaedon, Hart, Justise, Eubanks. and I was like, oh, this could be fun. And I am Chauncey is clearly willing to try stuff.
You said it was the Ant, Shaedon, Hart, Nas Eubanks?
Maybe that's what it was. I'm trying to remember what it was. But
I'm trying to see which one because I have it off cleanup glass right now. That one only had one possession.
That's the one. They literally ran one possession and they ran him off the floor. I was stoked to see it. I was like, oh, we're gonna get stupid athletic. Let's go have some fun.
Yeah, the one that comes to my mind, Danny, is the Ant, Shaedon, Nas, Justise Eubanks one with the 3 possessions. Now again, 3. But it was like a plus 58.3 just in that. And I think we were talking about this. We're like, holy shit, this is kind of a fun situation we've got here. Yep. And Shaedon busted out and they all kind of played really well together.
And that's the reason I wanted to go there, because this is where you see the athletic gifts of Anfernee Simons and Shaedon Sharpe having 2 wildly explosive guys in the same backcourt. And the reason why I said you're going to hate what I'm about to say here is because as I look at Shaedon Sharpe and his early development curve, you know what I think of? I think of Andrew Wiggins. And I don't mean that as slander. People lost their mind because Andrew Wiggins got that max contract back then. But what Wiggins was early in his career, he did one thing. And he did one thing only. Score. I don't know if Shaedon's going to rebound or create or generate steals, or I shouldn't say that. Wiggins was also a good defender. Like those are the only things he did. He was a scorer and a defender. There was no creation. There was no rebounds. Like he was a 6'8" guy who wasn't grabbing rebounds or generating steals. Shaedon right now looks like a guy who is going to be a scorer in this league. Effortless scorer. Which way that path goes as far as rebounding, shot creation, defense, all that kind of stuff, I don't know. But I tell you this. I saw flashes from Shaedon last night defensively that my eyes opened up. Where even if he made a mistake, he's so athletic and so bursty, he was able to recover and get back in front of his man. Stuff like that where you're like, good God. There was one where it looked like Fox had him beat and he just kept 45 angle stepping. Just cutting off De'Aaron Fox, who is inarguably, I don't know, depending on which side you fall on this, the fastest guy in the NBA with the ball in his hands. I mean, June bug, just water bug, whatever you want to call it. He is lightning quick. And Shaedon didn't look lost. The guy making his NBA debut is not supposed to look that comfortable on that end. And for all of the knockdown threes and the backdoor cut dunk or getting to the free throw line, like all that stuff, like that's the stuff that I expect from a guy with his draft profile. What I don't expect is to have the athletic mobility in his hips. Andrew Nemec loves the oily hips in the NFL draft. When I watch Shaedon, he's got those oily hips, man. He flips and stays in front of guys. He cuts. It's a little bit like a defensive back. Yeah. With his footwork, able to angle and cut stuff off. He made plenty of mistakes defensively. I mean, Chauncey said it the other day. Young guys make mistakes. We got plenty of old guys in this team that make mistakes. I'm not necessarily worried about mistakes. What I am interested in is just how good he is naturally as a defender. Because one of the things that we've talked about this on the show, defense always gets pushed down to how hard it is you work, how much heart and hustle. That's bullshit. Defense is a skill. It is a talent.
It is a skill.
It is a talent.
It does require effort, but it is a skill.
It is. If everybody could be a great defender, there would be guys in the NBA who were in the NBA because they're great defenders.
Right.
Like, think about how many guys wash out of the NBA every single year. Do you think that they haven't thought, maybe if I just defend better, I can stay in the league and go make millions? It crosses their minds. Trust me. You have to have skill and the talent to do it.
No.
Now, you got to be willing to work at it. Absolutely. And you can make up for it with heart and hustle. But guys like Tony Allen, it's not just the grind. Tony Allen is a gifted defender in his prime. Raja Bell is a gifted defender. Bruce Bowen is a gifted. Danny Green reinvented himself because he's a gifted defender. Like all those guys, they figured, hey, if I can knock down a three and be really good at this other stuff, I can make a lot of money in this league. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did. And now see Shaedon going to that same path, but I look at Shaedon and I go, he has the markings, and God, I'm going to regret this. He has the markings of a two-way star. He does. Now, whether or not he turns into it, I don't know.
Did you just Rafiki him? Did you just spread something on his forehead and be like, yo, you're the next two-way All-NBA guy? Like,
listen, like,
I don't know if I can go. Like, I see where you're going, but like, I can't go there yet, man. Don't go there yet.
But
it's
here's
one game. It's
listen. I know.
Do it another game. Because I hear what you're saying, but I can't go there yet with some of that.
Here's the thing, and I'm not saying he's going to be one. When I watched, people called me crazy watching Anfernee Simons in Summer League, and I said I don't know if he's going to turn into anything. But I know a couple things. He's got a shot creation platform that is elite. There's maybe 15 guys, the top scorers in the NBA, have this ability to get their shot off whenever they want to. And I was like, and he can shoot the piss out of the ball. If he puts those two things together and plays with confidence, he could be special. And I was like, I don't know what it is, but he has it. Now, will he take it and develop it? Well, I said Gary Trent Jr. will make it in the NBA from day one. He will be a near 40% three-point shooter. The one swing skill that he has to figure out is, can he defend at an NBA level? When I see markers in these young guys, it's not they're going to be this. It's here's what I see. Now, if they maximize it, here's where I think they can get to. But that path is so narrow. It's so narrow to actually develop into that guy. I'm just telling you, watching Shaedon, the defensive stuff is natural. It works. It's fluid to a level that rookies aren't at. Herb Jones is on another level defensively. Like, I'm not saying Shaedon's that.
Herb Jones is like a top 6 defender.
Yes, Evan Mobley's a defensive player of the year candidate. Like, I'm not saying he's that. What I am saying is, I look at him and I go, I could see smaller Andrew Wiggins.
Like, I mean, if that's the high-end part of him defensively, you take that all day.
Oh, you take that in a heartbeat. Kristen Peak, who's a scout for Yahoo, she said she called him Anthony Edwards with a jumper. Like, if you want to get excited about something.
Well, I think there was a possession he had, I forget when it was, but like the guy kind of got to him, but he recovered super quick. He put his body straight in front and like just held his ground. And I think the guy ended up turning the ball over. He had a few moments, like he had one where
he dug down for the steal and left him in the corner.
He leaned in for the steal, leaves corner open. Like, those are film session moments. And then he had one late where, and Lamar brought this up.
Nurk stepping up.
Nurk stepped up. He didn't need to do it because, Shaedon's 6'5". He's got a crazy
Shaedon looked like he was beat. And Shaedon just, that 45, he got right back and recovered. And Nurk, he didn't need to get there. And that's what I'm talking about. Right. Those markers show up and you go, oh, that's interesting. And I say all of this to get to the Mustafa in the comments says Mikal Bridges. Close. Mikal's such a smooth negotiator of traffic. Like, he's the hardest guy to pick in the league. Like, you can't screen Mikal Bridges. It's almost impossible.
He's the Vegas favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Listen, I had him marked as that coming out of the summer. But like, there's some of that to Shaedon. Like, there's a natural inclination to that side of the ball, and that's before getting to the offensive stuff. So let's have some fun with the offensive stuff, because there's some tangible stuff to work with there. The confidence in knocking down that 3-point shot. The jump shot's butter. The ball leaves his hand. It looks soft as angel wings. Like, no notes. It's fantastic. The confidence with which he shot that step back 3 was incredible. The back cut, catch and dunk was just smart timing. And where I want to give Chauncey the second hat tip of the night was that baseline out of bounds play. They ran that little flare. It looked like Shaedon was going to pop up, and I believe it was Ant on the inbound. So Ant, being the inbounder, made them kind of respect the quick hit back to Ant up the gut. But they ran a little flare for Shaedon, and he curled back out to the corner for 3. and they drew it up for him. The fact that we haven't even talked about this yet, Shaedon was the guy off the bench and not Keon Johnson. That kind of lets you know where the confidence is among Chauncey and the team with Shaedon over the last 2 weeks. And if he's ramping up like we think he might be, it's pretty impressive.
Well, I would actually add on to that too. Like the play, you drew a play up for him. That's cool. Man, my tip of the cap goes to Chauncey playing him.
Yeah.
Like, give him a play. Yeah, if you're going to play him, like let him try to get some action and some confidence. You know, like the one thing I heard about him from people in Kentucky, and you read about it with the draft process, he wasn't lacking of confidence. This is a player that while he externally doesn't maybe look like he is thinking anything half the time, the dude internally is a competitor and he wants to go at your throat and he's going to bring it. And I thought that's kind of what you saw. Like, imagine all of us, every single one of us when this season, we're like, oh, I hope he plays 5 minutes tonight. God, I hope that if there's a blowout, we see him. He was like one of the first players off the bench. Yeah. And now he's to the point where, yeah, he's going to struggle. Maybe he struggles at home Friday. Maybe it's then a game after that. He's going to struggle.
That's rookies. He's going to have a night where he falls flat on his face and you're going, ooh.
But there's now not a reason. You can't have that game in the first game. There's no excuse to not play.
Oh, you can't not play.
You can't undo that now.
No.
Like you have
no,
to
you open that box.
Yeah.
Which makes it really interesting when Gary comes back.
That's an easy fix for me. There's a guy that didn't get to play a whole lot last night.
You taking this year off the floor?
I don't know if I'm taking him off the floor, but you have to look at minutes, man, and you have to look at production.
There's only 48 minutes position.
Well, but you also have to take into account, Gary's coming back, how much they ease him back.
Oh, it'll be Thanksgiving. You know what?
There's going to be a trade. Like there's going to be a trade. And so like the minutes thing isn't a big deal to me. Like Shaedon goes from getting 18 last night, maybe that goes to 15, whatever. And
if you find a way to get him 12 minutes a night, I think you're doing your 6 minutes a half, the Noah Vonleh treatment.
Sure.
6 whole minutes straight.
But if you can get more than that, I'm ecstatic because what we saw last night was fun. It was exciting. And damn it, man, 6 minutes into Summer League, he hurts his shoulder. Everybody's thinking the same thing. God, did we draft the injury-prone 19-year-old who hasn't played in 2 years? Everybody thought it. And him to come out that game, I was happy for him. And I think Blazer fan generally deserves to be happy about it.
Yeah, there's an interesting notes from last night's minutes. Sharpe played 16, Little 10, Winslow 26, but Ant and Lillard both basically played 37. Hart played 38, Grant 35. So you can probably drop Grant down to 33, Dame down to 34.
Well, you're going to have to take into account, too,
Hart.
The average basis is tough, Danny, but take into account, too, the nights they're going to get their ass kicked. And the nights they're going to randomly kick somebody's ass. Those minutes.
Listen, he should be getting every time there's garbage minutes.
All of them.
First shift. The first guy off, like whether it's Dame off, you know what? Pull Dame off the floor. Let Ant continue to run, continue to cook. He's got young legs. He's 23 years old. He just got paid. Let Ant and Shaedon in the garbage minutes go cook.
Yep.
Build that chemistry up because I want to see what those two can do. I am very, very interested to see what Ant and Shaedon can do with that second unit. Because the pressure that those two athletes, and this isn't to take away from Dame, I'm looking at your average NBA bench. Do you think a team wants to look at that bench and have Ant, Shaedon, Josh Hart coming downhill at them every possession?
Oh, I mean, it puts a lot of pressure on you. That's for sure.
That's a lot of shit to deal with. Like, that's 3 dudes who athletically can do so much. And Ant is a certified, he's got a ratchet on the 3-point line. Shaedon has the makings of a dude. Now, Josh, not a shooter, but he is going to put rim pressure on you eternally.
Yeah.
And depending on who else they have out there, whether it's Grant, whether it's Winslow, whether it's Eubanks, whether it's Trendon, that's another guy who athletically is going to put some stuff on you when you get back. That's another thing. What ends up happening when Trendon's healthy and Sarr is healthy with that front court rotation?
Well, I think Sarr is going to get the Eubanks minutes, and I don't know if Trendon's going to see a whole lot of action, to be honest with you. You
think you're going to lean more towards Sarr than Trendon, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he gives you a little more length, and then like in moments where maybe there's foul trouble or something, like we'll see what happens the next few games here. But like if this isn't as big a concern, why would I mess with it? Why do I need to mess with it? If Justise is going to hold his own in his couple minutes running 5, now again, not that it's going to be happening for a lot, but I just think it's going to be Nurk, Sar, Eubanks. I think Eubanks is their third, and maybe I'll be wrong, but Trendon's he's just not a big dude. And, again, I think we need to put into perspective here, like what this team is versus what last year's team is.
Yeah. I think, again, a couple of points. We're hitting up on an hour right now. So, again, thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. Like, review, subscribe, help us grow the show. Do all of the things. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It's free. It's easy. We're just short of, we'll do the live count, which is always great to do when you're doing a live show. It's like radio, Brandon. It's looking things up when you're doing this. We're at 3,934, which means we're just short of our 4,000 subscriber goal. So if you haven't already, click subscribe. It's free. It's easy. And it helps us out a ton. So
yes, it does.
And if you're on the podcasts, leave us a review. Let us know what you think. And for everybody, I know the audio has been a little bit wonky lately. But between my mic, my dog quite literally ate all my mic covers. Which is, I had everything in a box. I had my my mic covers and my pop filters all in a box, and the puppy ate them. I was getting ready to move them into the studio, so I know the audio's been a little bit weird, as well as my compressors out there. So everything sounds all kinds of weird. So thank you for bearing with us. All of that should change here over the next 2 weeks. I move everything out there. But let's wrap it up here. Looking ahead to Phoenix. Phoenix presents a whole host of different problems for Portland, namely that,
to say the least.
to say the least,
it's a good team.
They're a good team. They got down early last night and they came back. It's kind of interesting though. You look at, if you didn't watch any of the game, I had it going on the second screen as they kind of came back. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Mostly Dallas they puked on themselves. It was kind of weird. Mm-hmm. It was Luka and Christian Wood. Booker got going, Cam Johnson got going, Bridges got going. I saw a lot of people like, well, Ayton didn't really play that much because he only played 4 minutes of the first 20, and then he finished with 30 minutes. He was 8 of 11 at 18, 10 and 2, otherwise known as a really good stat line. They got it done, and obviously Damian Lee coming in and knocking down the threes, adding 11 points off the bench. But I say all of this. Chris Paul had a rough night. Chris Paul has historically been Damian Lillard kryptonite. Cam Johnson has stepped into that starting forward spot. It's kind of funny. Instead of having a starting power forward, their official press notes for the Suns have Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges.
We always believe the welcoming spirit was
both starting. I love it when ESPN stuff starts playing through my headset. Autoplay hell. Both Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges are both listed as small forwards.
Yeah, and I, whatever they end up going with,
it's funny.
I don't think there's a difference.
No.
Like they're both going to play high level minutes. And
yes,
it's a tough game, right? Like Phoenix, everybody was kind of doing the same thing last night. We were Deion Sanders celebrating Phoenix last night. You know what I mean? Like
high stepping all the way through. I was like, damn.
Man, we were
that Ayton price tag getting cheaper and cheaper by the day.
We were all skipping to the end zone, and then they came back and give them a lot of credit for that. I'll be curious to see, Danny.
What are you looking for coming into this game?
Well, I mean, I'm curious to see if they can dictate tempo.
Anything?
Yeah, because they got out last night with the Kings, right?
They did.
20 points, 20 fast break points.
Which is tremendous.
That's amazing compared to what we've seen. But you mentioned their pacing and how it's kind of like middle of the road. I still think it's important for them and the players that they have. Mm-hmm. So I want to see if they can create turnovers, be a little chaotic, and kind of push tempo. Rotations, Chauncey doesn't have solid rotations quite yet. He had 13 lineups.
I think he's seeing what sticks.
And that's what I kind of like about him is I think he's like, yo, you go with them. I want to see what this is. Okay, you go in there. And I like that.
You hit those 3 and 6 sample possessions. Like, no, that's not working. Let's go ahead and
yeah, and I think that's good for them. Obviously, they're probably going to get beat up down low. I hope Nurk can do something to build some confidence for himself. At this point, I don't want to bag him anymore.
I don't either. I know it seems like I enjoy it. It pisses me off.
because we know what he can be when he
Yes.
plays his best.
And
And that's the thing is like, it's important for them if they're going to have more success than they expect. It's important for him to play like that.
Listen, this one's, I'm not going to lie. I'll give you a little peek behind the curtain. This one is a little bit personal for me. Not personal in like a bad sense. It's more personal in a fun sense. This summer, I compared Nurkic to Ayton, and I said Ayton is better at everything except for playmaking. I stand by that. I said it to his face. Nurk called me an idiot. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove to me that you're better than him. Show me what you can do, big man.
Well,
here's the thing. I will tell you this. Well, listen. I will tell you this right now. If he goes out there and he balls his ass off and he just leaves it all on the floor against DeAndre Ayton, I'm not going to bash him and I'm not going to hide from it. I will celebrate his success.
Well, but like there would be no reason to. That's ridiculous. There's no reason to bash it. It would just be an obvious like, yo, good job. Like they need this, and if they're gonna have a chance, they need him to be on the floor. Yeah. Now, where he's at cardio wise, I don't know, but like if they have to go to Eubanks Winslow, I don't expect for us to feel exactly the same way about the small ball five if that's what you're doing against DeAndre Ayton in the end of a ball game. So I just want to see them kind of try to dictate something on their terms. They're playing at home, the crowd. Man, it's the first game of the year, and it's a Friday. I'd expect that to be a sellout. And, you know, this team kind of got some people buzzing last night because how fun they were. And so I want to see Shaedon play a ton again and, you know, see if they can dictate anything against a really good basketball team.
And I think, listen, win, lose, or draw, process. If they go out there tomorrow and they play with the same mentality that they closed that game with and that they opened the game with. I thought the in-between period, particularly the second quarter, God, it was bad. But I thought if on the whole, their mentality, their process, their energy, their attitude was good.
Mm-hmm.
Was good.
Also, I'm going on a limb here. I know the Chris Paul Dame history. Chris Paul, I mean, he's just getting older.
I mean,
I think Dame's going to have a good game tonight.
It feels like CP3 has finally lost to Father Time. That's what that looked like last night.
It didn't look great. We'll see where it is. Randomly, he'll eat kale and he'll be rejuvenated. But we'll see. I think
kale.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Germany.
Yeah,
in Germany.
Kale in Germany. It's the
same place Kobe went.
Yeah, it's that German kale.
Yeah, the German kale. But I think Dame's gonna have a good game tomorrow night. You know, I think this is big for him. I think
that was the other one for me. Was Dame having a bounce back game, showing everybody. I saw some stuff from Bill Simmons saying that he thought Dame's burst wasn't there. I thought Dame's burst was fine. I thought he was beating his guy off the dribble quite easily. It was.
I'm not going there. Come on. I mean, come on.
Oh no, he was beating his guy off the dribble. Well, the problem was that
the burst comment. Like, come on.
No, but I was
one game, bro.
My point was his problem was he wasn't finishing because Sabonis was just sitting there at the rim waiting for him.
I also think he does some of those when he's like
the quick ups.
And I think he does them because I think he's expecting a foul. You know what I mean? I think he's trying to sell a foul.
He's also trying to beat the guy to the rim. So that'll be interesting. As interesting as Kawhi Leonard coming off the bench for the Clippers tonight.
They're up double digits. He's just now playing for the first time.
Yeah, he's just now getting in, and now you're unleashing the Kraken. Awesome. That's weird. For a guy that's been a starter, basically.
He's already looking like, he's already dominating them.
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny, for a guy that's been a starter his entire career, been, an MVP caliber player, NBA Finals winner. His hamstring and his back isn't tightening up on him like Russell Westbrook's. Guess he figured it out.
Nice to take a year off, though.
Great work if you even find it. Yeah, that's right.
That dude took 2 years off in his career. Like, we're going to look back and go, damn, Kawhi, we had 2 years where you just didn't play.
Hey, Odyssey, go ahead and take some notes, all right? We'll get out of here on that. Thank you all so very much. We appreciate you. We love you. No live show tomorrow night. I will be at the game taking in all the sights and sounds of Moda. Depending on how fast or how soon I get out of there, I may try to book it home since it's a Friday night. Maybe I'll throw on a late show. Brandon won't be a part of that because it'll probably be about 11:30 when I get home. But I'll be passed out, honked out. I may try to throw on a late show, just give you some late night thoughts, wrap it up from the game and from the press conferences, and kind of give you a feel for what it felt like to be in the building, because it is always different.
Can you do me and the listeners a favor here?
Yeah.
When you do these, I don't expect you to do them a lot because, it's a long day, right? You get home, it's late.
Yeah.
But when you occasionally do these, can you set some proper mood lighting? Maybe get in a bathrobe a
little
bit.
Danny After Dark?
Danny After Dark.
yeah.
Little Danny After Dark.
Oh, no, listen. When we get into the studio, lighting has already been factored in, ladies and gentlemen.
Great. I can't wait.
We have different lighting setups. We have some LEDs and some track lighting, and it's good stuff. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I mean, I could always, you know what? Now that you mention it, I don't do this often, but I can do. Let's see, where's my scene switch? I can set a little bit of where we go.
Yeah, I need something like this, like a
Hold
little
on.
lighter than that, but like very similar to it.
Hold on, I gotta actually. It's not working. No, I think I actually just screwed everything up. There, up.
Well,
There we go.
Do
Well,
a strobe light.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to have some settings in here. There we go. A little bit of colored light.
That's some ultraviolet
There's
color.
some green, some blue.
Go back to the green. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is my angry.
Yeah, that's your the body heat one.
Yeah, but this has a kind of a. This
I
is
feel
kind
like
of
I'm watching a movie. I feel like I'm watching Predator,
Yeah,
and I'm just
no.
watching him switch to
So,
his different
yeah.
visions.
I mean, we got a ton of different ones here. All right, let me get out of that. Ugh, that's the heart of my eyes. But yeah, there's like 40 different like settings on this.
There you
this
go.
light. God, that really did screw with me. I'm getting old. But yeah, no, we'll do some Danny After Dark and stuff like that. But again, thank you all so very much. We appreciate you. Like, rate, review, subscribe, help us grow the show, and again, subscribe. I saw a few of you guys subscribing here. Thank you guys so very much. We will have you covered for what, Sunday's next road game? Because they only have a couple home games. They have a couple at home, and then they go on a 6-game road trip. Five of 7 at home, and then a 6-game trip, which is the weirdest way to start a season ever, but whatever. So we'll have you covered for all the road games with the watch parties, and then I will have you guys covered at all the home games. So I don't know. Brandon will probably try to sneak into a couple games here or there when he can.
And it's gonna have we had to be like situations like tomorrow, like
Or
it'd have to be
Friday night,
Friday
yeah.
or something. Yeah.
Why don't you sneak out tomorrow night then, scumbag?
Yeah. I wish I could, my man. I wish I could.
All right. That'll do it for us. You can find Brandon and I on social media at Brandon Sprague, at Danny Marang, at Jacked Ramsays, all on Twitter. You can email the show, jackedramsays@gmail.com. Other than that, guys, enjoy, and we will catch you guys Friday night if I do a post-game show. If not, we will be back on Sunday for our mailbag show leading into Sunday's game. So other than that, take care. Enjoy the next couple days, and we'll talk soon. Have a wonderful night, and